What is going on, everybody? It is another Pop Culture Crisis movie review. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Today we are reviewing the Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This felt totally disconnected from the original franchise, but Brett wouldn't notice because he didn't watch the original movies.
I have never seen a Hunger Games movie before in my entire life. Maybe that's to my benefit here.
It's a villain origin story for President Snow.
Yep.
First off, what was your first impression?
The first thing I thought of, and this is going to be weird because it's a little bit disconnected from the film, is like we're watching which is ostensibly a YA adaptation from a franchise that is in supposedly this new target demographic that Marvel is looking to get into, which is like younger millennials to Gen Z, I'm guessing. And I was like, wow, you can make a movie without jokes every 5 minutes. It's a movie that
to appeal to young people.
It's a movie that takes itself incredibly seriously.
It did.
Not in like an overtly.
So did the original.
Yeah.
And I just rewatched the first movie in the franchise the other day in preparation for this. It didn't have any jokes. There was no levity whatsoever. And Katniss was a very serious, cold character. But this didn't feel like it was geared toward a young adult audience. It doesn't feel like it's part of the young adult genre. I think anyone can go in and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It wasn't heavy on a romantic subplot, even though there was one, clearly.
I actually thought that was the best. It humanized Snow in a way that gave the character an unbelievable amount of depth. And I even said to you during the movie, I was like, I don't even remember the last time I saw like a white male character that was this competent at anything he did. And of course, it's because it's a villain origin story.
I guess.
But he's got an incredible amount of depth. It's not one dimensional in every way. And my goodness, can Rachel Zegler sing? For whatever. She is awful at interviews, and she is awful at interviews, and we have said time and time again, I'm more than happy to criticize her heavily as far as what her public persona is, and I think she does her films no favors outside of the actual movies. But in this film, I have no complaints about her performance.
She's not at all bad at singing. She's not at all bad at acting, at least from watching this. I haven't seen her in anything else, but she is an annoying person, and we can separate art from the artist.
You have to be able to. I think one of the ways you see that it is geared more towards young adult is the casting of Hunter Schafer, which I didn't even notice until the movie was over.
The character of Snow's cousin, played by Hunter Schafer, is totally unnecessary. To be honest, you could scrap that entire character and there would be no difference. I just other than their opportunity to cast a transgender actor, which is trendy.
I think the character matters because as his cousin who's there living with his grandma, they humanize his character and help give you push and pull to his motivations, which actually makes his transformation, which is a rushed transformation in the third act, it gives it more weight when you see him, where she seems to see at the end that he's changing, saying you're more like your father every day.
Yeah, I guess
think
I
that's
saw
actually
that.
done to show the transformation that he as a character has made. But I do think the third act is a little bit rushed. I think that once he goes back to the Capitol, it all happens very quickly.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm just looking through everything with a Star Wars lens since I just watched Star Wars, but this definitely felt like an Anakin type character. And that felt rushed to me as well. When I watched Anakin in his villain origin story, that felt rushed. Like it happened in the course of a few days. At least this was through a course of months, right? Like weeks and months. So... but I think that this movie was definitely too long. I think you could have cut like a half an hour.
Think so? I think I
there were a lot of
fluffy
scenes.
I disagree. Okay, so there were parts that seemed in the middle that probably could have shaved down during the actual competition, but most people wouldn't want that. But I felt that his story traveling to District 12 and then having these moments with Lucy Gray, with Snow having these moments with Lucy Gray, play a huge role in showing his transformation after he ostensibly sacrifices his best friend. I think they serve to show just how much he's changed, right? Just like I said, that Hunter Schafer's character, Tyrus, like actually is the icing on the cake of that. I think you have to see his growth of looking to find Lucy and then going through what he goes through at the end there. Though I do think it happened too fast. There was definitely some pacing issues throughout the film. I tend to judge a lot of movies now by like how often I look at my phone at the time on the phone, and I didn't really all that much here, especially between hour 1 and hour 2. So I think it was good. I think Viola Davis chewed the scenery a ton. I think she looked like she was having the time of her life playing this character of...
Viola Davis's character, Dr. Gall, was definitely like crackhead energy.
Yeah, the hair.
It was... Yeah.
She looks like she's got the crazy hair, the crazy eyes.
I didn't understand her. Like, her I didn't understand her motivations or her psychology whatsoever. She's just like a mad scientist, basically.
Kind of. I mean, you know better than me because I haven't seen the other films. So.
I don't know. And then also in the first film, Snow has a scene where he's in his old age and says, "We have the Hunger Games to give people hope, like a false sense of hope." But then the answer that he gives Dr. Gall as to why the Hunger Games exist was totally different in this movie.
Yeah.
What was it again? He said like
it was very like essentially
it's to remind us of that we all have a capacity for monstrousness within us. So we watch this to remind ourselves of what our human nature really is.
Which isn't a bad answer.
It's not a bad answer, but it doesn't make sense with the answer he had later on.
Yeah.
When he was in charge of it.
It's definitely a villain answer at the end of this movie.
Also, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of Hunger Games in the movie. Yeah. I mean, I get that that's not exactly the point, but it is in the title.
Yeah.
That felt like a fraction of what this movie was.
Yeah.
And also I understand that this is before it became as heavily marketed and televised. It was a bit of an oversight that they cut the feed in the middle for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And no one notices, even though this is a national televised event.
I felt like what they did with the Lucy Gray character is fantastic. One, because she is not a girl boss. She's not an overpowered character. She's frantic. She's constantly in danger. She has very raw, real motivations that seem to speak to what an actual human would feel in those situations. You don't feel like she was written by someone who had an agenda to provide the audience. Preferably the scene. There's a scene later on when they're gathering the guns, and he ends up shooting this person in the back. Snow shoots this person back, and she's terrified of what's going on there, and she's not just cool, calm, and collected in every situation, which feels more real to me and away from what we tend to see these days in the superhero genre, which is that anytime there's any type of violence or action on screen, everybody cracks a joke and everyone has some stupid one-liner that sounds like it was written by Kevin Smith in the late 90s.
He shoots someone in the back and she's like, well, that just happened.
She does sing more than speak in this movie, and maybe that's why I liked it so much. She spent more time singing than speaking.
I thought that maybe the singing was a little too much.
Yeah.
And there were also points that probably could have been shot better, like when they're doing their interview with Lucky Flickerman.
Yeah.
They're showing it just them in the zoo exhibit, but they're not showing anyone watching this on TV. Right? They didn't show anyone reacting to this at home.
They tried to do that when she sang by showing the other people in the infirmary reacting to her singing.
Yeah.
As a way of showing you the immense power her voice seemed to have over people, making her very, very likable.
Yeah.
So others.
Rachel Zegler actually explained it really well. She said that Lucy Gray is a performer who's forced to fight, and Katniss was a fighter forced to perform. Mm-hmm. So when she's on camera, she puts on a front of being fearless. Yeah. And behind the scenes, she shows her emotions. So she's not a girl boss character with no flaws.
Exactly. You have to have bravado in a situation like that. Otherwise, you'll get eaten alive by showing any amount of weakness. I felt that it was a bit of a forbidden love story. Torn between two worlds, him torn between his desire to, for his family and his desire to take care of his cousin and his grandma, and what ends up looking like to me becoming like a lust for power, but then also this deep infatuation with this person, but it's almost like he can't fight his better nature, or his worse nature, I should say.
I liked that they showed his resentment for his childhood friend who is so much more privileged than him, but still, like so many career activists, has like this moralist streak, but doesn't actually use his privilege to change anything.
And notice how he didn't use a bunch of modern day language that would have firmly set it in the 21st century, which would have ruined it for everyone. He talks about his friend who is clearly privileged and clearly has the benefit of the money and the status in society without taking you out of what you're watching and making you feel like you're in 21st century America.
And this is supposed to be like 31st century America or whatever.
So the language is more it's more evergreen. You don't have to feel like you've been taken out of something and existing in another realm. I enjoyed it. I was actually shocked how much I enjoyed this film. I don't know if I'd ever watched again. The length is an issue. I think I would have a harder time staying focused at home than in the theaters.
Yeah, 2 hours 37 minutes. But there were a lot of people there, and it has a high audience score so far. The critics don't like it. Yep. 62% from critics.
Interesting. Like I said, and it's always interesting how these things happen, because it made about 5.5 million or almost 6 million last night in Thursday night previews. Not super great, but we'll keep an eye on the score. And I don't know if this means we need more prequels in the franchise, but I imagine that if it makes a decent amount of money, it will get that. Mm-hmm. So
I like that they at least didn't continue the story on after Katniss.
Oh, we also left up Peter Dinklage, who doesn't get a whole ton of screen time.
I felt like his character also was not...
Well, he was Snow's dad's best friend, so...
But why did he hate Coriolanus so much?
So, the way it was explained in the movie is that the whole concept of the Hunger Games was thought up by him, and then Coriolanus' dad is the one who actually presented it, just the way that the girl tried to take the idea from Coriolanus early on, and that he regretted that it ever became a thing because he felt like that it was barbaric and that he didn't want to see. That's why he kept trying to have it stopped. So I think he sees Coriolanus as kind of a reminder of what he helped create, even though he didn't want it created.
And then that was the last person that he murdered in the movie.
Yeah. So if you are a fan of the Hunger Games franchise, I would say that the high audience score says that you should probably go and check it out. If you're a fan of films that don't necessarily have to have jokes every 5 minutes and actually take their source material seriously, I think it's at least worth checking out. People who are more inclined to critique the franchise may have a different take than us, but like I said, I'm looking at this from somebody who's never seen one of these movies in his life. I don't know if it's going to make me go watch the other ones.
I think you should watch at least the first one.
But yeah, so it's out right now in theaters. I recommend that everyone, if you decide if you're a fan of the franchise, go and check it out and leave a comment below and let us know what you thought of the movie. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.